welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this. I'm really excited. I've never done one of these that has a writing component or an interactive component before, so this is definitely something new for me today as well. So this is my obnoxious why you should listen to me about your authentic lens. And it's all true, and it's all in the past 3 years, which is since I discovered what I call my authentic lens, and I'll explain in a minute. Since I discovered that, my writing career completely changed. I've been hired and paid to write 2 feature films, neither of them based on my personal idea. I created my web series 37 Problems. That was the first project I created through my lens, and I'll tell that story in a second. And it sold to a dozen streaming outlets. It's on Elizabeth Banks' comedy channel and a bunch of other great comedy places. More importantly, it got me meetings with pretty much everyone I've wanted to meet with. And that original thing actually got me the feature jobs and pitches to TV networks. So all off of one authentic lens script. Here's my best definition for you. It is your point of view on the world that you have only because it's a function of your life experience. So nobody else but you has your authentic lens. Nobody has the same authentic lens. There's 53 of us on here right now. I could give us all the same script to write. We would have 53 different scripts. So the cool thing about realizing that the power you have with your authentic lens is that I never worry that I'm in competition with anybody. They may not want me, they may want Dina, not Lisa, but they're not gonna want both of us because we have a totally different point of view, even if our script idea is the same. So that's just something I offer because I know personally I struggled for a lot of years with the sort of comparison and missing out stuff, and it's not true. So let's talk about how I did discover this concept of the authentic lens quickly, which the answer to that is painfully. Before I came to LA, I was a playwright in New York, and I wrote these very little plays that all took place in real time, were performed in off-Broadway theaters, and most importantly, I would start with a question, like whatever question I had in my life that I didn't know the answer to at the time. That was the genesis of the play. So I accidentally wrote through my authentic lens without really understanding that that's what I was doing. And I was successful, as successful as you can be in a 70-seat theater. Like my plays got published by Samuel French. I got reviewed by, huge publications, not always well. And the last play I did in New York, I had movie stars, to play my parents. And the interesting thing about that was Holland Taylor played my mom, and she said she knew she was going to do the script by the 8th page. Okay, her character was not in the play yet. So there was something in the first 8 pages, there was me in the first 8 pages that she was already responding to before mom ever even entered the story. So that the playwriting world was good. And then I came to LA, and I had this idea that I didn't know what I was doing with screenwriting and TV writing, which was not entirely untrue, but I thought everything had to be bigger. And I thought I had to appeal to more people, that what I had been doing in theater was fine for that, but that was far too small, for the film and TV world. So I started asking people for help, which is great. And the thing with Hollywood is if you ask people for their opinions, they will give it. And not like anyone's trying to steer you wrong, but I got a lot of opinions and I listened to them. And 3 of the opinions that I got, which impacted me very directly, were that I was 37 at the time and writing comedy. And someone told me you shouldn't have a single woman over 35 in a comedy show. This was 2014. So, I pushed back and said, what about Sex and the City? And he was like, yeah, those women were not over 35. Go look at the script. He was right. The second thing, your lead character shouldn't be a writer an actor, a director, or a producer, like no industry occupations, because nobody can relate to those. So, okay, all of those are gone. Every job I've had since I was 21 years old, off the table. And then the final thing was, do not set your story in New York or LA. Those are the two places I've lived as an adult. So I start UCLA graduate school with these three, rules in my head. And after 4 years, I've written a lot of scripts and I've won some awards, and people tell me they love my writing, I'm talented, all this stuff, but I don't have a job. I have not sold a script and I'm not getting paid to write on somebody's show. So what is the problem? And I was ready to just say, for some reason, I could be a playwright, but not a TV writer or screenwriter. The problem with that was I had a lot of playwright friends who are now writing on TV shows, and they just proved that. So I started to look at my scripts. And the first thing that struck me, which was the first painful realization, was they all had female leads. None of them were as interesting as me. By which I mean, none of them were as complicated as me. I have 700 flaws that change on the daily. I solve some of them, new ones crop in. I have a million different pieces of me. These characters that I was creating, had one flaw that was then solved by the end of the script, and we go happily ever after for a feature. Or they had, maybe they have like a flaw in their work life, a flaw in their personal life, and a flaw in their family of origin life. They have 3 flaws if it's a TV show. And then we're watching them, grapple with those. But none of them had the density and the depth of me. And that's a problem because your characters need to be actually more interesting than you. Because we don't want to watch a documentary of your life, unless, I guess, you're Beyonce. Unless you're Beyonce, your character has to be more interesting than you. And I was not doing that. And, like I said, with these mandates of women under 35, no occupation in Hollywood, no New York or LA, I was taking away in the New York or LA and occupation space, really the authentic lens, low-hanging fruit. And we'll talk about this later. But the setting and the profession are absolutely things that you should be writing from your experience, unless someone is paying you not to, because those are easy. Make that easy. The third thing was the character's age. And there's stakes to being a 37-year-old woman. I was questioning, whether time had run out for me to have kids. My father had passed away and my mother was getting up there, and I'm wondering, is my husband, if I ever find him, going to even get to meet either of my parents? And then you're getting to sort of midlife crisis-y territory of, am I where I want to be in my career? Like, is this happening, or am I kidding myself? So all of those stakes that are inherent at 37, which I was occupied by every day, all of the stakes were not in my writing because my characters were younger, less interesting versions of me. So that was sort of a hard realization that I had. The good news was I saw Tiny Furniture, Lena Dunham's feature, at about the time that I was having this identity writer crisis. And whatever you think of Lena Dunham, that movie, what it did for me was, watching it, I thought, okay, like, if that's the bar, I can do that. And then I watched Awkward Black Girl and Broad City and High Maintenance, all of these, comedies that I enjoyed by writer, creator, actors. And all of them had the same thing in common, which is watching those things, whether you like them or not, they were so specific that there was not another person who could have written those pieces. There's not 2 Lena Dunhams, there's not 2 Issa Raes writing Awkward Black Girl. It was such a specific point of view. And it was personal. So I thought, all right, I've tried everything else. Let me throw out the great advice I got and start with all of me. So I wrote a script called 37 Problems about a 37-year-old single screenwriter living in LA who had all of my stuff. Her dad is dead and he is a ghost. Her mom is on the East Coast. Her brother's on the East Coast. She, lives in a tiny apartment and wants to get a dog. All of that was present in 37 Problems. And then I added to it. I gave her a fertility crisis that not only is she 37, but she finds out she has one egg left. So now we have an immediate problem to solve, and we have a lot higher stakes than I was dealing with at the time. I had her mom go to get her iPhone fixed and marry an Apple genius who was also 37. So now the mom is getting married a second time before she's even managed to once. Just everywhere I could, I heightened the comedy and heightened the stakes. So that was kind of the 30% extra that I put into 37 Problems on top of the baseline, which was all of me. And that script got a very different reaction. Before I ever produced it, I submitted it to the Austin Film Festival, and immediately it was a finalist, one of 10 finalist scripts. Then I made it, and the reviews were good, which I had experienced from my plays sometimes, fine. But then I got paid money, which was the first time someone was saying, okay, this is good, and I'm gonna give you money for it, which is where we're all trying to get to, right? To have this be a sustainable career. So it launched on Amazon. I got money from that. Then it sold to a distributor who put it on Xfinity and a whole bunch of other platforms. I got money from that. I get emails still. I licensed it to an Israeli app developer who's making some TV app. I got money from that. Like, it got me paid. And that proved for me that actually I have everything I need to make a sale inside of me. I just have to use it all. And the problem was that I wasn't doing that. All right, so let's just take a step back for a second and go wider, which is why. Why did that script get attention? Why did it get money? Why did it get me meetings? Because it's new. The buyers want something new. I don't know if you guys are Trader Joe's shoppers, but I am. And when I go into Trader Joe's, there's literally an entire kind of bookshelf thing of new. That's all it is. That is the theme of the shelf. It doesn't matter what the product is. It's just, here is our new stuff. And I inevitably buy something from that shelf because it's weird. It's like hibiscus infused, or there's pancakes, but now they've got protein in them and I just have to add water. Whatever it is, it's something new and it catches my attention. So if that's how like human beings buy, like, wouldn't it make sense that Hollywood buyers are operating the same way? But you don't have to take my word for it, because I have quotes. This is, I think it was a Vulture article from a few years ago. So one person's job may have changed. The other two are still doing what they were doing. So these are quotes. The first one is from Michael Barker, who was the co-president of Sony Pictures Classics. So, and the question was, what are you looking for when you're reading a script? What makes you stop? What stands out? What do you buy? He said, I tend to look for something fresh that surprises me. Right? When you give somebody something new, it's fresh and it's surprising just because it's new. Jason Blum of Blumhouse, he said, we are never looking for the next of something we've already done. So not the next of an existing thing is also something new. The last one was Helen Estabrook, who produced Up in the Air, Young Adult, Whiplash. She's produced a lot of good movies. She said, anything new and strange, as long as it's intelligent and emotionally honest. So she literally says it. New and strange is what she's looking for. So that's, to me, the really good news is if every buyer just wants something new, that's what's going to get their attention. You have that inside of you already. And your mandate in writing through your authentic lens is to write a script that could only be written by you. Because then I guarantee you it's new. Nobody else has read that script before. So how do we do that? It starts with, like I said, putting 100% of you into your script and then adding the 30% extra. The 37 problem story I told you was a comedy that was pretty closely based on my real life, right? So what if you're not? What if you're writing about a fish? You know, what if you're not writing something that's based on you? You need to know the ingredients that make you you. And that's what we're going to do some writing on today. It's a process that I call mining your authentic lens. And I do it with all my coaching clients. It's the first 2 to 3 weeks of coaching, depending on how much they write. So we obviously can't do the whole thing today, but we're going to do 3 exercises and talk about how you take that piece of you or that truth about you and put that into a script that's not by you. The job I just finished on last Friday, was a feature job, and the production company that hired me had tried to buy a script and for this director. And he kept saying no because he didn't feel personally connected enough to any of the scripts. So the solution was, okay, take one of his ideas and hire a writer to write the script. And they watched 37 Problems and hired me. However, they also told me that the reason the buying the script thing hadn't worked out was because he didn't feel, personally connected enough to the story. So I literally met with this director 5 times before I even started writing to do the lens work, not just on me, but on him, because I knew that if I got to know who he was and what he was all about and what made him him, I could put that into the script. And then of course he's going to feel a personal connection to it because his stuff is in there. So I did it with his stuff, I did it with my stuff, and then I wrote the script, and it was hugely successful, and it's already led to another job. But the character in the story is absolutely not me. It was a character of his creating, and my stuff is in there, but his is too. So that's the ability that you have, the cool ability that you have once you know what makes you. So lens exercise number 1 is to list your 10 greatest fears. Be specific. If the fear is monsters, let's hear who those monsters are, where they live, and what they do. Just, briefly, I'm not asking you to write a book, but I do want you to make it specific. Not just, I'm afraid of death. Why? What is it about death that scares you? Okay, so I'm going to do this with you guys. I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes, 7 seconds, just to be weird. And let's write our 10 fears. Good work, everybody. Okay, so you guys are going to look at your fear lists while we do the following evaluation of it. And I'm gonna look at mine and I'm gonna tell you mine because I was gonna have a volunteer and then I realized that was didn't feel totally ethical to me to have someone share this personal stuff with 61 strangers. Okay, so, and I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'll read the top 5. Fears. Number 1, death and not accomplishing what I want to by the time I die. Also, just ceasing to exist in general is fucking terrifying. I can't wrap my mind around it. I never have been able to. If I think about my own death for more than 30 seconds, I just start to cry. Number 2, not having a family. Being alone, having my present circumstances be it for me and be as far as I go in life. 3, kids, that I will not have them and I will regret not having them. 4, not enjoying my life. Even though fun is the #1 item on my to-do list every day, I forget to have fun almost every day. Number 5, being alone in a house. I've lived in upper floor apartments in cities my whole life, which meant at least 3 doors and sometimes a doorman between me and the outside world. Having only 1 door on the ground floor of the structure that I am in terrifies me. Okay, so that is enough fear. Now we get to evaluate it. So what I want you guys to do first is circle anything on your fear list that you do not see on TV or in movies currently.
I'm sorry, Lisa.
Yeah.
Are we circling what we don't see on TV, or what we
Yeah,
don't?
things that stick out as you as like, oh, I haven't seen that before in a show or in a movie. Something new.
All right. Thank you.
Number 2, let's do its opposite. Make a rectangle around anything that is on your list that you have also seen on TV or in a movie. Okay, cool. And I just realized one of mine has a circle and a rectangle around it because part of it was a rectangle and part of it was a circle. So you may have that experience as well, and that's fine. They're all valuable. None is better than the other. The point of it is to see which of your fears are universal, human fears. Those are the rectangles, right? And then the circles are usually things that are more specific to your personal experience in life. They're all part of your authentic lens, but it's helpful to be able to see what's going to resonate with a lot of people without any explanation because it's a universal human experience. And what, living on the 8th floor of the building and being afraid of houses, you're probably going to have to explain that a little. And the specifics of that are what are going to make it new for the reader. Even just in the fear piece of your authentic lens, you're going to have a nugget that for the reader is going to be something new. Okay, so then the second piece of evaluation that I want you to do is to ask yourself, which of these fears resonates the most with me today, right now? Just read the list, which one pops out at you? Okay, so for me, it's funny because as much as my mom passed away recently and I have all sorts of family drama going on. However, the one that pops out for me is I'm afraid that I'm not enjoying my life, even though fun is the #1 item on my to-do list. I forget to have it most days. Just the concept of a character that is failing at fun, like that's funny. I want to know how someone writes have fun at the top of their to-do list every day and then either just ignores it or forgets it. Like, how do they fail to do the only item, it's literally right now the only item on their to-do list every day? That intrigues me. And so what you want to do, whichever fear you've chosen, the sort of last piece of this evaluation, the 4th step, is to put it into an I statement. So if I were gonna give this statement to a character or to myself, if I'm the character, whatever, I would say, I'm scared, I'm not enjoying my life. So I'm scared I'm not enjoying my life. That could be the fuel for any character. I don't care if it's me, if it's a fish, if it's, a robot. Like, I'm scared I'm not enjoying my life. You can put that into your script and it's your emotional truth from today, at least, but it can go into all sorts of contexts. It doesn't have to be like I'm showing up as Lisa Ebersol in the script and writing a character based on me. And just to give a little more sort of guidance on how you use that, I'll mention, well, fear, first of all, is just one element of the authentic lens. Like, imagine if you're doing this for 3 weeks, you're answering questions about fear, about shame, about regret, about joy, about moments where you felt alive, about things that you're proud of. So I think there's like 30 questions in total. You're going to have all of these emotional truths that are specific to you, and some are universal and some are yours totally. And all of that is material. All of that is ingredients that can go into what you're writing, and should, if you listen to me, go into what you're writing. Like, when we finish 3 weeks of Authentic Lens, you have a whiteboard literally just filled with stuff. And my take is always, let's put it all in. Like, our goal is get it all in. You know, if you have to add some stuff and maybe some of it gets left out because it's not relevant in the end, maybe, but most people can find a way to put all of them into any script, regardless of what it's about or who the character is. The fear piece alone. I hope you guys watch TV if you're writing TV. I'm going to talk just about 3 TV shows really quickly and how fear is the driving force. The TV show Barry on HBO, about the hitman who tries to become an actor. Okay, so Barry's fear from episode 1 until, I think it's been 3 seasons, and I think I've seen all of it. So until the last episode I saw, Barry's fear has been that his acting class will find out that he's a hitman. You know, that this hitman life he's trying to leave behind is going to intersect with this new beautiful acting life he's trying to build, and he can't let that happen. So ironically, Barry will kill in order to keep that fear from becoming fully realized, right? Mrs. Maisel. Mrs. Maisel is interesting because it's had a bunch of different fears. And sometimes if it's a show that's broader like that and goes multiple seasons, you're gonna need multiple fears. So her season 1 fear, she starts out with the Barry fear, right? Like, she's afraid that her uptight Jewish Upper West Side family is gonna find out that she's moonlighting down in the West Village as a stand-up comic. So the 2 worlds colliding is the fear. Then it happens. So fear over. We need a new fear. Season 2, her fear was, am I good enough to succeed as a stand-up? Like, am I as good as I think I am? Which, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's like the deep artist fear that all of us have at some point, and maybe it comes and goes even. Am I as good as I think I am? Am I good enough to succeed at this? So that's the fear that drives us through all of season 2. Season 3. I cannot tell you what the fear is. And I love Mrs. Maisel, but I think season 3 kind of lost steam. And when I look at it as, you know, an analyzer and lover of the show, I see that a piece that's missing is, I don't know what's at stake for her anymore. You know, she's got childcare from her in-laws, childcare from her parents. Like, even when she doesn't make any money, the in-laws seem to pick up the tab. So I'm not clear on the consequences, and that causes your show to lose steam, or your movie. You know, a movie is building. The second there's no consequences, the movie's over. So fear gives you a driving force, and it gives you those stakes and consequences. There's other ways to get those things too, but you guys did the fear list, so we're talking about fear. Oh, and then the last show was Atlanta, which I love. I love Atlanta. And season 2 went a little wackadoo, and I love that too. But season 1 had a very clear fear, which was, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my family. You know, this girlfriend and my baby, the girlfriend's already kicked me out because I can't pay to be there. I'm already out, but I'm trying to get back in, and I'm afraid it's not going to happen. That's the drive for everything Earn does in season 1 of Atlanta. Okay, cool. So let's do one more Authentic Lens exercise. How are we on time? Ooh, okay. I'll talk faster. This is a quick one, actually. We only need a minute for this. I'm going to have you list 5 places that you know so well You don't have to Google to tell me what the best coffee shop is on the corner. And 5 professions that you know enough to write credibly what the day-to-day looks like without Googling. So 5 places is list 1, 5 professions is list 2. And we're gonna just do this for 33 seconds. We have a special guest, which is Heidi. Can you unmute your microphone? She agreed to share her 5 places and professions with us.
Hello.
Hey, oh, there you are, good, hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the Zoom show.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. I just list just the city?
Yeah, so read us your places first, and
Okay.
then pause for a second and read us your professions.
Okay. So I picked Paddington, or it's like by Paddington Station in London, that area. And then Bentonville, Arkansas, the East Village of New York, and 1, 2, 3, and Melissa, Texas, and Simi Valley, California.
Okay, awesome. And you told me, because Heidi had to sign a release in order to appear, so she's a plant from the email I sent out. You told me that you're writing a half-hour dramedy right now.
It's a half-hour comedy.
Comedy. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it set in one of those places?
It is actually, yeah. It's set in Dallas, Texas, so which is right next to Melissa. So. Okay,
cool. Good. Then you're doing well. You're doing well with the authentic lens. If you had said no, my question would be, can it be? Because usually a comedy is not dependent upon the place in which it is set. And so let that be your low-hanging fruit. Like, wow us with the specificity of your action and your choices of place and moving us around this location that you don't even have to think about it because you can see it as you're writing it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then let's move on to professions.
Waitress. Yes. Guest relations manager at a hotel. Legal assistant for a union, and telemarketing, and I think is that 5. Administrative assistant.
Okay.
Officey stuff. Yeah.
All right. So you know what I'm going to ask you is your lead character, one of those things?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So you did it. You took the low-hanging fruit, which is what I want to recommend that you all do. Like I'm not a lawyer, but my brother and my father are. Still though, I could not tell you it's 1:43 p.m. So it's 4:43 on the East Coast. If I were to knock on the door of my brother's office right now, I have no idea what I would be interrupting. Like, I don't really want to think about it, but I don't actually know. So if I'm going to write a lawyer credibly, I would have to Google. I would have to call him. That's not at the tip of my fingers. I haven't had that job and I don't know it inside and out. So what if you don't? What if you're writing a serial killer? Hopefully none of you know that inside and out. That's your 30% then. You know, that's not your 100% of you that you're putting in. That's on top of it. So spend your time with the researching with your 30%. Like, that's where if you're getting paid to set a show in Nashville and you've never been to Nashville, I really advise you to use $5,000 of your money and go to Nashville for 2 weeks and get Nashville inside of you so you can write authentically about Nashville. Okay, let's do one more, another quickie. I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. This is one of my favorites, which is, what question is running through your head every day? Like, at some point in the day, this question pops into your head and maybe you ignore it or maybe it's there all the time, but you're aware that there's a question that keeps kind of sticking. So 30 seconds to write that question. Time's up. Okay, and we have another volunteer who's going to help us out. Cheryl, if you could unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, thank you.
You're welcome. So Well, I thought of a different question today, but
tell me your question now. No, it doesn't have to be what you email me.
My question is like, when am I actually going to get organized? I feel like it's looming over my head that I can't find anything anywhere. I hide stuff from myself. I hide my stories that I write. I write children's stories. I've written scripts. I took a class last year, but I just hide them from myself. It's almost like that's what I want to do, but I like am hiding the real self from myself. So.
Okay, awesome. So tell me, sorry, that was really interesting, but tell me the question again is,
when am I going to get organized?
When am I going to get organized? Okay, I mean, again, like, as with when am I going to why can't I have fun when it's the number one thing on my to-do list? Like, that sounds like a comedy character conundrum to me.
Yeah.
You know, when am I going to get organized could be the question of an episode. It could be, if you used it, organized in terms of life. That could be like the entire show for 5 seasons or 10 seasons. You know, when am I gonna get it together is, you know, one of those questions that you can explore endlessly. And, you know, people do. And the questions are really fun because when you hit on that question that resonates for you now, it's like the fear thing. If you write 10 questions, then which one is the hottest? When you hit on that question, if you give that to your lead, you can keep coming back to that. You can always be asking, you know, how is that present in my episode? If not, oh shit, I forgot about that like core thing of me that's not in here. So let's put it in. Have that question be asking itself all the time for a character the same way it does you. The other cool thing about questions, and that's Cheryl's became a big one, but it could also be a 1 episode question. Like literally the question could be, is she going to find her script today? That's what we're watching. So everything else fun that happens in the half hour and all the people we meet and all the things that Cheryl does and the things that she says, all of that is being held on the coat hanger of, is she going to find her script? And that was literally an episode of Broad City. Abby put her phone down at a bar, it got taken by somebody else, and she's playing Find My iPhone all over New York City. That is the episode. So those can be externalized into fun, just through lines for a comedy or a drama. Cool. All right. So those are 3 examples of authentic lens writing. And like I said, it is like a 2 to 3 week process. So there's a lot more, but it's more of this. It's more of list making and data mining. You're not writing scenes. You're not writing me like backstories or telling me what the theme is. You're just data mining your experience and seeing what comes up. And the cool thing about it is that it changes, you know, as you do, right? So I do it before every project, you know, much to my chagrin sometimes, because it can be an exhausting process. Like, you got to do it again. I haven't written a personal Lisa thing in a year and a half. So I'm doing the authentic lens work again for 43 problems, because I don't know. I think I know, but there's going to be stuff that I don't know. And that's the stuff that surprises you, is like the best stuff, the stuff that you didn't even know was there. So if you have a question about whether, you know, some people I talk to and they say, oh, I think I do write through my authentic lens. And you might, because one thing that is naturally done through your authentic lens, like my plays were, are like a coming of age story, something that's actually based on your own personal experience. That might in fact be through your authentic lens. The way to know is to ask yourself and have somebody read it and ask them the question, could this have been written by anyone but me? If the answer is yes, it doesn't mean you have to throw it away, but it means there's not enough of you in it. I read a fellow writer's script the other day who's, you know, he's got a much fancier job than I do, and I read it and it was great. And then I said, I love it. However, you're not the only person who could write this. So how can we put more of you into it so that you are? So that's the standard that I hold myself to. It's the standard that I hold all the screenwriters I get to work with to, is write a script that could only be written by you. That's what's going to get you paid. And that's what prevents you from being replaced. If you're the only person who can write it, they're not going to be able to hire someone else to do the rewrite because there's so much of you in it that a rewrite of that would, I mean, it would just be a different thing. If they want a different thing, I guess they could. I'm going to share the screen because I'm very excited about this. I'm offering a group workshop for the first time. So if this authentic lens stuff jives with you and you think it might be the missing piece for you, or you're new and it resonates and you know it's going to start you off in a better place, then I invite you to take a look at the website. It's a 6-week course. We're going to meet for 2 hours and 15 minutes because we're going to have a little break once a week for 6 weeks. The dates are on there. You're also going to get 2 one-on-one coaching sessions with me outside of class, so I can, you know, customize what we're doing in class to the project that you're working on, or if you're starting something new, the project that you're building from scratch. And you get membership into my private client Facebook group, which is being created as we speak, which will be only accessible by people who've done the authentic lens work. So nobody will give you, my dream is that nobody is going to give you bad advice in that Facebook group, because there's not that many of you. And you've all agreed that this is the way you're working, at least right now. This is the standard you're holding yourself to.
You can sign up at lisaebersol.net/workshop. And thank you guys so much for being with me today.